pitfalls. We've been talking about pitfalls.
Okay,
Let's turn to that. So what do you see as some of the greatest challenges for both your students and yourself in this environment? And since you've been talking about it, Paul, why don't you continue?
Yeah, the biggest challenge I had initially was just the workload it put on me. I think we all sort of found that out that first time everybody sort of hit the hybrid. It was an enormous amount of work to craft something that was a meaningful assessment. I mean, I can have students engage in a forum and it looks good. I mean, you look at the comments, wow, there's like all this text that they're writing, it's wonderful, they must be engaged, right? And then you start looking at the comments and it's basically like and dislike. And then you stick a little closer and you're like, well, wait a minute, this isn't what, if you were in class, it'd be all over you about this. So, you know, for example, peer review activities online are helpful because sometimes that takes up a lot of space and time in a classroom, but I have to set it up very well so that there's criteria for it, so they know what a good peer review looks like, what a good comment looks like. It's not, you know, 3 words, good, fine. I mean, that's, you know, useless for someone who's learning how to write. So that's the biggest pitfall I had, was just the workload. I didn't budget for that. So my solution was just to sort of pull back and only do the things, 1 or 2 things at a time. I don't know.
What about your students? What do you see as some of the challenges that they face?
Tech failures is a big one. Yeah. Sort of taking responsibility for the online thing. Well, something failed. You know, I can demand a piece of paper in my classroom. There's something about it that makes them come in, especially our demographic of students. But somehow online it excuses them that Crops was down. Even though they were doing the assignment at the last minute, Crops was down. But also just honest to goodness tech failures is most of it. They try to sign on to Crops and it's down. Or WordPress is out, or some resource is down, or the connection, or they didn't have a VPN, because I teach writing in the sciences, they have to do a lot of database work. You know, they didn't get the right VPN, or IT doesn't have that for this new Mac system that came out. I mean, it's a fairly enormous.
The dog ate my computer.
Yeah. But that I would say was one of the biggest challenges for me. I don't want to take up all the time on that.
Well, I would reinforce what you've said. It does take a lot more time. One example, about 2 weeks ago, I had all my students do a carbon footprint quiz online, and then they had a question that they had to write about it after they figured out what their carbon footprint was. But traditionally, to provide some context for that, we would have had a discussion in class, and I would have asked them some questions about, like what kind of car they have. But I'm missing that hour a week. So they had to go online, and everybody had to contribute one thing they knew or they found out about carbon footprinting. So, because I didn't have time to establish the context in the class. So it takes, and I hadn't thought about that till where I was just about to assign it. And then I said, oh gosh, I got to come up with this piece for it. So it does take a long time, even for sort of an assignment that really wasn't a huge assignment in the breadth of the whole class. The lack of face-to-face time is a concern for students. I just read through my midterm evaluations that students did, and that was really the one concern they had. I have a question, and we don't have time. I don't have time to ask it in class. They maybe felt, or just lack of face-to-face time. And one other problem that just presented itself last week is that the students were doing peer review, so they emailed each other their essays. And then they had a peer review sheet, and everything went fine, I thought. And then they came to class, and in each class there was like 1 or 2 students who just completely ignored the assignment and did not do the peer review for the other student. Well, if they had come to class and one student was unprepared, I would have matched the person that they were paired up with somebody else, and we could have remedied that very easily. Instead, all this time went by. The student didn't tell me until she came to class that my person didn't respond to my peer review. So, it was sort of unsatisfactory for the couple of students who didn't have their partners, live up to their end of the responsibility of doing that. So.
Well, the nice thing about PB Works, though, I don't know, it sounds like you were using that for your classes, that you can have them do the peer review on the website, which I've done with the CRTE, which I love, because it forces me to do peer review, because I know that the person moderating is going to see whether I left a comment or not. Like, if they're like, you need to leave your comment by whatever time, but I know, I hear what you're saying for that, type of thing. But I do love PB Works so much. I highly recommend it to anyone who isn't familiar.
I love it too, yeah, because you can just make more and more pages and get more creative with it.
It's just so transparent, and to track all those changes. Yep,
it is great.
Lei Wei, what sorts of?
I'll say something I worry for my future students who will be brave enough to be our test subject. So I think the thing I worry about it a lot about would be time management. The Alex, this particular system we're using is going to be mastery based instead of you spend how much time you spend on a certain topic. So they claim they have an artificial intelligence core, so they have some logical structure between different topics of pre-calculus. Like if you cannot do factorization of second degree polynomial or something, then there's certain area in this trig you wouldn't be able to do, so they have a structure. And the student, when they work through this workbook, they have to master this topic before they can move on to the next one if it depends on the previous one. So, and it's, the system really checks that they have really got it, they can do it. So the technical requirement is they have to do 2 problems correctly without any help before the system admits they have mastered this subject so that they can move on. So I worry my students, if they have the habit of waiting until the night before the homework is due to do it, they're not going to be able to finish it. So we need to get this message clear and early that they need to really spend enough time to learn the subject before.
It sounds like there's a common theme here with regards to pitfall, is that it's not only changing how teachers are teaching, but it's also changing how students need to learn in terms of increasing their responsibility to, this personal responsibility discourse narrative about student learning, that it becomes more prevalent in the online hybrid environment than face-to-face. So we're at the end of our time. I hope you got a glimpse of what hybrid courses are, what the promises and the problems and some of the issues revolved around that. I mean, obviously we're not able to really dig really deep into this, but I encourage you, if you are interested in this topic, I would love to talk to you more. Any of them, I'm sure would be happy to talk with you if you want to ask more questions about anything that they're doing. And I really personally think that, especially in our campus with this lack of space, instructional space, hybrid is going to be some way a part of that solution to addressing that. And what better place to model this new, I think, instructional model than at UC Merced. I think we have really a lot of potential here at UC Merced to do that. So thank you again for coming. We hope you found this helpful. And I will be sending, make sure you sign in, and I'll be sending you the evaluation for this workshop electronically, so you can complete that. It should be should be no more than 3 minutes.
This question and answer time?
No, I will not. But yeah, so if you can really, you will help us a lot if you just fill out that evaluation. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for our panelists.